Let's talk about my Ehlers-Danlos red zone, green zone theory. Over my years of coaching people with Ehlers-Danlos, I've noticed that they tend to fall into one of two very different camps when it comes to exercise. So we might fall into either the red zone or the green zone, and where we sit can fluctuate over time. So what I noticed was sometimes people with Ehlers-Danlos would say, every time I try and exercise, my symptoms get worse. Or it feels like I'm allergic to exercise, or every time I try and progress, things go really wrong. Or they would say the opposite, and they would say, actually, if I go for a couple of days without exercise, my body starts to feel worse. Or if I don't progress my training enough, then my body feels significantly worse. And in the green zone here, sometimes they might experience pain, but it makes sense. It's like, oh yeah, I did rush through my warm-ups yesterday and I kind of rushed through my bench press and maybe my technique was a bit off and my shoulder's a little bit sore today. Whereas in the red zone, the pain doesn't often make sense. I did a little bit of upper body training. The next day I got a migraine. I did a little bit of lower body training. The next day my SIJ subluxed. Or it might even be non-local. So I did a little bit of training and then I got flu-like symptoms or other weird symptoms that didn't seem to make sense. It wasn't proportionate to what I did. So from here I built out this red zone, green zone theory. And then you've got the person here walking the tightrope between the two, which can sometimes happen. Sometimes it might be that your upper body's in the green zone, lower body's in the red zone. Or you might go through a phase where you're in the red zone for a couple of weeks and then in the green zone, or it might be years between you switching between these two. Now, I think this concept's really important to understand because, for example, if you're a rehab specialist working with Ehlers-Danlos people and you've only ever worked with people who are in the red zone, then suddenly you get a client and without realizing it, this client is actually in the green zone. If you treat a green zone person as if they're in the red zone, you'll make the symptoms worse and vice versa. I really suspect that a major factor in someone being in the red zone is mast cells. So, for example, for me, when my mast cells flare up, especially around stressful events, I tend to end up in the red zone. Whereas when life's peachy, I tend to be in the green zone. So something that I have to remind myself when I'm in that red zone is this is not going to be forever. Yes, it feels like my body is just falling apart if I look at a weight wrong, but eventually I'm going to get back to the green zone and things are going to be peachy again. Another important point to note is the way to get out of the red zone is not by treating it like you're in the green zone. Going in session after session, being in denial, pushing hard, and flaring yourself up is not how you get out of the red zone. How do you get out of the red zone? Well, in my experience, one of the key things is managing mast cells. So whether that's through medication, supplementation, stress management, lifestyle management, for me, a major trigger for my mast cells is stress. So sometimes it's about minimizing stress. Sometimes it's about just saying, okay, I'm going through right now, I'm moving house. That's a stressful thing. I can't avoid it. So I'm just going to try and make it as unstressful as possible, but also understand I might just be in the red zone while I'm going through this. And then once I'm out the other side, I can go back to green zone training. And when we're in the red zone, when it comes to exercise, we want to tend to underdose. We want to do less. We want to do just enough to get our bodies moving and feeling better, but don't put the heavy expectation on yourself that you're going to achieve huge physique goals or strength goals. This is not where we really think about goals being performance or outcome goals. This is where we might set a goal to say, go to the gym 3 times a week and that's it. Whereas here, we want progression. We want to strive to do more. We want to strive to do better, and we can set some more outcome or performance-based goals over here. So I'd love to know what you think of my theory. Is there anything missing? Do you relate? Which zone are you in currently? Right now for me, my upper body is in the green zone, my lower body is in the red zone. My SIJ will sublux if I look at a weight wrong. So that's just something that I'm going through. Like I said, stressful house move. I'm just going to ride it out. And I'm really excited for one day when I'm going to get back into that green zone because I know it's going to happen eventually.